welcome to another episode with the Struggling Hunters. The Struggling Hunters. We have Eric over here.
Hey guys.
We have myself, Joe. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a buddy. You know, we got some awesome content. And also, if you haven't, we did our very first video that we put up, that we did something together on. And so go check that out on YouTube. Tell us what you think.
It's the shootout. We had a shootout.
Yeah, we had a little friendly competition.
Joe just wants everybody to go check it out because he kicked my butt. But
I did no such thing.
But yeah, we'll talk about that later. All right, you just got to watch the video and you'll see the story.
He was messing up all day just to make me feel better about my shooting. So
yeah, you're just being nice.
But anyways, welcome to the Hunting Shack. We kind of got some rabbit holes we're going to go down today. We mentioned a while back that we wanted to be a little bit more open, I guess, or kind of discuss our lives a little bit more, so you get to find out who we are, other than I used to live in Utah, now I live in Colorado. With that, we'll go segue. So there's two things that we're going to kind of segue into and discuss, is hunting, and which is probably be every episode, but scouting and prepping and what's that?
Well, just whenever you said we're talking about hunting.
Well,
it's a hunting podcast,
yeah,
so chances are us talking about hunting is probably pretty high.
It probably is. But I just thought, so in the process of moving out, I have a F-250 2000 that blew a head gasket. And luckily that, I wasn't pulling a trailer. For the luck of the draw, it blew the head gasket somewhere, but I didn't know it was blown until I tried to change the oil and the hoses and fired it back up, and I was burnt. Kind of had some white smoke and oil in the water, so thought it was a handful or one other thing, but it turned up being a blown head gasket. So that's what I've been doing. Now we're in, what month are we in? June? In June.
15th.
Yeah. So back in February, and I guess last month I've been really tearing it apart, and finally got the heads off the truck. So I'll be deciding what exactly I will be doing with that and then putting it back together. But all that is in prep for the hunting season. In a way, it's kind of a weird way of scouting. I got to get my truck ready.
You got to get that ready, and
yeah,
kind of holds to our name, the Struggling Hunters.
Right.
We're always struggling, always trying to find success through, but we have to go through all of our struggles first.
And then getting to where I can take those heads off, that was a lot of work. I knew it was gonna be, but man, it was always one more part, one more tool I got to track down.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, in a way, how hunting season goes for us.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It seems like we're better at storytelling with
right.
Yeah, how much struggles we had more than how much success, but we're flipping that. We're getting to the other side of that. It's, man, I've said it before, but when we started this podcast, I always thought that we would get some success, and I'm like, oh, it has to work. And I mean, I guess I got my doe, you got a turkey. Yeah. So we've had some success, but I think we kind of want, we're thinking more elk and big bucks.
But kind of along those lines too, it kind of goes along the whole learning process of, some guys do have all the luck and they have the means or whatever, the time to be able to get to those places that have bigger odds, or maybe they just have better patience than us. And that's all part of this whole learning process of the Struggling Hunters.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it, because we have hunting season coming up, but we also, behind the scenes, have families to be with, and honey-do lists, and that all goes hand in hand to be able to go hunting.
Yeah, full-time job gets in the way of that.
Right, full-time job.
Build on top of that is kind of busy people, and then I always feel bad because I'm like, oh, we need to, I need to spend more time out in the woods, but then you got all this other stuff coming up or getting in the way, working weekends, and you know, turkey season kind of went that way for me, and you know, I'm not trying to do whoa it's me, but you know, I was busy guy this turkey season, so like turkey season kind of didn't quite go as good as I had hoped.
Right. Well, kind of along those lines too is kind of the lack of success we have been having and trying to juggle life, work, and all that, family, and it's kind of in a way making me a better or us a better hunter because where we don't have an unlimited amount of time to be able to spend in the woods, is that it turns into trying to understand where the highest odds of the animals are going to be. Like,
Right.
what do we have to do? What does that look like now? And that's kind of how my mind's been going. I think, how much better shape do I need to be in? How much better understanding of the woods do I need to understand? And I don't really know all that yet because, now I'm in Colorado. And I left with barely getting understanding Utah. And so now I'm, back to kind of square one in a way. Luckily, we've been together hunting in Colorado, so I'm not quite at square one.
Right. You have a little bit of.
But it's, like just trying to understand, looking at a map and being like, okay, what's going to give me the highest odds of getting into elk? And what does that look like? So that way I don't spend the first 4 days of my hunt to find them on the fifth.
Right.
When I got to go home on the fifth or the sixth day of the hunt.
Which could happen.
Right.
Still, but it's been. I mean, that's kind of where I've been too. I've had to learn how to hunt better too. Like, there's a way that I used to hunt that used to give me some success, especially whenever, getting to know us better and stuff. Whenever I lived in Idaho, I learned to hunt from my mentors, my dad, my uncles, whoever, and there was ways that they did it, and they knew where things were, and they knew where to go, and still, I mean, it was still a hunt, it was still hard, but coming out to Colorado, I lived out here for a while and stuff, but whenever it came to hunting, it was kind of a little bit, I was like, I gotta figure all this out for myself. I don't really have an old timer that is gonna be like, oh, go to this area right here, always elk in there or whatever,
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a transition, and I'm actually a little bit scared of it. Not, I hate saying words like scared because I'm not scared, but I'm a little nervous of one of our plans in the future as we grow and stuff is to go out to these other states and hunt, and I get a little nervous of that thought of going, man, it's been such a struggle to get like Colorado dialed in. What are some of these other states going to be like? But that's where me getting better at e-scouting would probably really come in handy.
Right.
For when those times do come, we can look for stuff that looks like familiar territory to us. We can utilize that in other mountain ranges and other states, but it is one of those things that make me a little nervous. I'm like, it's taken so long to get there in Colorado. What's it gonna look like in other states?
And that's kind of like figuring out what that looks like. That's I guess the true trick of it all.
Yeah.
Because it would be fun to hunt other states, but then again, we're going in blind.
Going in blind, yep.
But then I think that's the other thing too is you just got to start learning how to digest the information that's available. And I guess like there's range reports and stuff that you can get that kind of help explain all that. Well, like you can pull information out of that. I'm still trying to understand how to comprehend. I haven't even looked at the range reports, or I don't know. I think that's what they call them. But the biologist reports on the area, digesting that, and it's like, like sometimes I feel like we overthink it, but then that's when then you just give up and you fall back in your old habits. Like I'm just gonna go for a walk, which could pay off, but then there's that trying to go for a walk with, what's the word? an educational walk, or
Yeah.
well, anyways, but go and walk with a purpose and with an understanding of why you're going the direction you're going versus, well, if I just cover more territory, I should see an animal.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of fall back into that pattern
Right.
a lot, huh?
Yeah.
If we're not seeing nothing where, I feel like at the beginning of the season, whenever you're fresh and you're excited, you're opener, and you're like, man, I know there's going to be elk right here in this dark timber, blah, blah, blah. And then you walk in there and you're all happy and spend the whole couple days in there and you don't see nothing.
Right.
And then you're like, well,
Right.
what do I do?
Exactly. Well, that's kind of along those lines. So, for those of you that don't know, Eric was lucky enough to draw out a third season rifle tag for here in Colorado. And being that I've never hunted Colorado deer, and my first time in Colorado hunting deer, and let alone in November, I've been part of my scouting prep for Eric. I'm going to be Eric's guide this year.
I know he's like getting into it like hardcore more than me. Like we were talking about it earlier, and I'm like, man, he's prepping right now better than I am, and it's my hunt. So that's cool though. I mean, hey, if he wants to get me to the big buck, I'm good with it.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
But so I've been trying to just YouTube and search Colorado third season. It's kind of funny, like how, or not funny, but shouldn't use the word funny, but very interesting how many different hunts there are out there. And a lot of that just seems to be just a lot of just spot and stock. So just finding a good spot and glassing for a little bit and understanding. So it's November is kind of, I guess this is kind of the scouting segment of this episode. But
I think we started with scouting, so we're still kind of
are we still on topic?
Yeah.
So this episode is going to be scouting with a bunch of rabbit holes.
Yeah. You just got to follow. Just hang out and follow.
As I've been trying to prep for that and getting in my head deer rut, that is kind of in November and depending on what goes on. So again, like we go from hunting elk rut in September and then deer rut in November. It's kind of interesting because I've all the time hunting and I'm trying to change my mind or change how my mind works for hunting in those time of years is you got to hunt where the females are, where the does are. And so, like for that rifle hunt, find a group of does, start picking apart the bushes, the timber or whatnot, just seeing if there's a buck close by.
Yep.
Which is, makes sense. And that's something I'm going to try doing this year. And that's the same thing with the elk, The elk, well, I guess in a way, so how do I break this down? So a bull elk's going to chase the cow, so he's going to create what's called a harem, right? Where he's going to collect his little bounty of females.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's going to take them and keep them all together. But if I understand everything correctly, and what other people have said, there's always a lead cow. Well, but I think, man, I'm doubting myself because I know there's a lead cow when the cows are left alone, but I don't know about in these little harem groups. But that's neither here nor there too. What I'm trying to get to, this whole big circle I'm trying to get to is the female cows, like all the cows, elk included, are going to have to eat. But this time of year, the bulls have one thing on their mind, and so I think in a way the cows still lead the herd to water and to feed. And depending on temperatures, dark timber or whatnot, just trying to stay cool. So, trying to find those areas where the cows are going to want to be too during the rut. So in a way, you're hunting the cows to hunt the bulls,
Right.
or you're chasing. How would you say that? You're chasing the cows to hunt the bulls.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So I think
But in Colorado, over-the-counter archery, though, you can get both, too. So it's kind of like just whatever you want to do, maybe early in the season. Either way, I mean, it helps to get
your tag
toward
filled.
that, get your tag filled. But That's the one nice thing about Colorado is in archery you have that month. I mean, I think most places are like that, but some places it's like bull only or whatever. But in
Right.
Colorado, on over-the-counter tags, you can get a cow or a buck, or a buck, an elk,
An elk.
and so it's kind of nice because for me, I'm like, well, beginning of the season, I'm really gonna try to get that bull. Oh yeah, I said elk. Anyway, you're gonna get that or go for the bull, but it starts getting later in the season. It's like, well, maybe I can come across a decent sized cow,
Right.
So it kind of gives you a little extra chance to have some kind of success. But I feel like I don't know what it is, like a primitive thing or a masculinity thing, but I feel like I'm always like, oh, it's all about the meat. But
Right.
man, I really want some horns on that meat.
Correct. Yeah.
And I mean, I do focus toward the meat, but it's like it's always that nice to have a nice goal to get some horns. So
Right.
For bragging rights, I guess.
Right.
To really feel the
Look
success.
what I did.
Yeah,
You gotta get that wow factor too.
The wow factor, yeah.
And prove that you. Yeah. That's one thing. Just thoughts by Joe. Is it's just kind of interesting. I think that animals, the bucks and the bulls, they know how big their antlers are. Like I think because they show them off and they use them for intimidation. But do you really think that they know their antlers and they're like, yeah, I'm the top dog?
I kind of do. I kind of like. I mean, I feel like I do for multiple reasons.
So do you think that's true for just a typical 4x4 frame, or if he has a couple kickers, do you think he's even more proud of himself?
I don't know, because I don't think he can see his own kickers.
Oh, well, I just was thoughts. Like I said, thoughts by Joe. As I've thought of that, like we're so focused on the antlers and everything, but I was like in reality, in the Mother Nature, I think the bigger the horns, the more dominant you appear, but then you got to be able to back that up with your fighting skills. So even though you have the biggest rack, you can, if you're not intimidated enough by a young buck, he can still kick your trash and dominate you.
So you're thinking like a young buck with not as big of horns could kind of fool you to think that you're not as big as you.
Well, it'd probably humble a bigger buck if he was in better shape.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, this is just stuff I think about.
No, I like the road that you're going down because it makes you kind of think like, how do they know? Because they say like, or I've heard it before. I don't know if it's true or anything, or if it's just, but like the bigger bucks like kind of get the does.
Right. Right.
And so, does the buck know that he's a bigger buck, or does he just know that he's a bigger buck because the way that the does are looking at him?
Right.
You're
right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. He's like, yeah, I must be a stud because look at all these does.
Well, and you think about like a bull moose, when you call in a bull moose and he comes in moaning and groaning, and then he's like moving his head left to right or waving his head or turning his head and coming in, and I think it's all that for moose. He's doing that because he's trying to probably listen because his antlers act like satellites, so he's trying to hone in on where that female's at. But at the same time, he's showing off his antlers as he's moving in.
Right.
So, I don't know. Like I said, it's just one of those things that as we're all focused on the big, bad, coolest looking antlers that we can find. But like in Mother Nature, like if a smaller horn buck's man enough or enough testosterone to go in there and kick the trash off some buck that, is a 30-inch buck and he's a 18-inch buck, but he just wipes the floor with the 30-inch buck and he's the top dog. Like,
that's an interesting angle. I don't know. I feel like we should observe the bucks more, see if we could ever find that happen.
Right, but like I said, I think it's more, the more mature ones have more confidence, so I think they run off the younger bucks.
But it is kind of weird though, because it seems like bigger bucks act different.
Right. That's what. They're more confident.
I mean, but even like they're harder to hunt sometimes.
Oh, true.
And,
yeah.
You know, so they must know that they're special in some way.
True.
That's what's always interesting. Like, I feel like deer have kind of evolved in a way to know, like bucks, because bucks will try to hide their antlers sometimes, or they'll maneuver in a way where they'll like hide behind does, and like they do weird things like that. So have they evolved to understand that us humans like to chase horns? So they're like, oh, hide my horns so they don't see it. Because I mean, and if that's not true, like, because I could be making that up, but if it's not true that they hide their horns, like, it sure seems like they do. I mean, I've literally seen it.
Right.
But you know, last year when we were hunting on my doe hunt, that one buck, like the guy that got that, man, like the guy that got that buck, like, I mean, it was his lucky day, obviously.
Right.
This buck, I think we've talked about it before, but to give a little backstory, this buck was like following this doe like right on her tail, literally, and right off the main road.
Main road.
We were going
the highway road.
The highway road. We were paved road.
Paved road, yeah.
We were going off. We were going up to an area to go hunt a doe, and this was a nice. But he was probably only a 2 or 3 year old, right? Maybe a 3-year-old.
3, yeah. I'd put him older than a 2.
He had a pretty decent
4.
rack.
Yeah, he was trophy in my book.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I definitely would have taken him for sure, but he was a phenomenal buck, and just following a doe, didn't care. There was people already on him.
Yeah.
And well, it didn't matter because I had a doe tag anyway. But there was people already on him, and he just didn't care. He just was so concerned about that doe. I mean, that's how stupid we get, you know.
Right.
Never mind.
Get that testosterone going. One thing on your mind.
Yeah. So, yeah, but it was crazy. I mean, you could walk around the woods for days and not see that nice of a buck. And then just driving along the road, and this buck is like, I don't care. This doe is the only thing I want right now. I don't know. Mind-boggling.
Yep.
And we didn't stick around to watch because I had my own hunting to do. Now I would, because we didn't get nothing that day. I wish we would have stuck around and seen if they got it, and give them a high five or something. But I had hunting to do, so I was like, I gotta focus on me. So
we should have shot the doe, but it wasn't the right thing to do since they were on. The buck.
They were on the buck. This other hunting party was already on the buck. But it would have been easy get for the doe. I mean, it would have been way easy, but we didn't want to mess it up for them. That would have been a pretty sleazy move. So, but it is what it is. But yeah, it was a nice buck. But it's just crazy, like their behavior sometimes,
Yeah.
Like right now, it seems like they really know when hunting season is too, because right now I've seen deer pretty much just stand there right in front of me like, what's up?
Hey.
Yeah, but during hunt season, like they're so more very very a lot more skittish, and I don't know, it's just weird. It's just weird watching their behavior. That's something that I try to do in the off season, because I do work out in the country. Whenever I do see elk or deer, I just try to watch. I just try to observe them to see, so I can kind of take in that data. I don't know where that data is gonna take me, or like if it's gonna help me be more successful, but I do I really try to just take that moment and just watch them and figure out their behaviors and and see what they do. There was a bunch of elk that was out in the field, and I was way out in the open, but I was like, well, they're probably kind of used to people being out on these pads and everything. So I walked off pad, and I was kind of walking toward them just to see how close I could get. And the crazy thing is like I noticed like one cow spotted me, and I don't know if like she made a noise or I don't know what happened, but she like noticed me, and then like they all noticed me. It was so the weirdest thing, you know. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But I was probably a good like couple hundred yards away, maybe 150 yards away, and that's about as close as I could get. You know,
Yeah.
they were like, you ain't getting no
That's
closer,
it.
buddy. Yeah. So it's just interesting watching how they behave and just how close you can actually get. Speaking of scouting, though, before we get out of here, is there you're thinking about upgrading a piece of equipment? Might as well talk about it.
Yeah, so I was gonna look into getting a little GoPro for filming and stuff, but I think I just want to upgrade my spotting scope. Got an old Brasco that I've had for 16, 17 years, and I think it's time to upgrade to something a little bit better.
I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not gonna drop, you know, no more than probably $300 or so. So I'm not gonna go way out there, but I am looking to upgrade to something a little bit newer.
Yeah, well, that'll be exciting. Maybe we'll have to maybe do a video around it or something, and
Yeah.
share with the guys, like do a review video and share with the channel if they, you know, how it works and how you like it and stuff.
Yeah.
You got any closers?
Nope.
Well, that makes it easy. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it for tonight's episode, number 113. As Joe said earlier in the episode, if you guys could hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're a new watcher, new listener, that'd be pretty good. That'd be great for us, especially if you hit the like button. It helps the algorithm and helps us grow this thing. We've been putting a lot of work into it, and we really want to get some growth and really get to the other side. We're working hard. We've been trying to put in more work to get to the other side, so or to grow our channel, make it get a little bit bigger, because you know that's kind of what part of this is about, is trying to grow your channel. So with that said, guys, thanks for listening to us and joining us in the Hunt Shack. We appreciate you. And with that, the struggling hunters are out of here.
See you guys.